Good morning, bud.
Morning to you.
How are you?
Well, you don't look too worse for that wear. Nervous, of course.
That's all exteriors. All right. That looks like you got a great picture and background and everything. And we'll start
Background kind of
now
blurred.
so I don't forget to when we begin.
And you can hear me okay?
Yeah, very good. Loud and clear. Sounds good. I was working in Fusion 360 trying to finish some things, and it's going to be a busy day packing, I think. Another scorcher
I
out
can
there.
only imagine.
Yeah, I do not like moving.
Well, I've decided I'm going to die. I'm never going to pack another
Yeah,
box.
I would love to do the same thing. It is no fun.
Well, I hope Illinois is good for you. What town?
Peoria, yeah,
Peoria.
it's
Okay.
near Champaign, Urbana, the university where my brother did his MD, PhD. He loves it there. So that's one of the reasons I decided to go with this, is he thought it was a very nice area. So
Yeah.
good music scene.
The cost of living, according to the internet, is a bit more expensive.
Do what?
The cost of living in Illinois, according to the internet, is a bit more
Not
expensive.
than it is here, I doubt. I mean, this is an expensive part of Alabama.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
right. It's on the
this is
coast.
not cheap. Um,
Well, I think you're going to find that pictures are going to
no,
be interesting.
I'm
I
sure
was
they
sort of
will. I can't wait to see what you've come up with. Good morning, George. Good morning, Michael.
Well, I had been using. Oh, good.
I think when I sent out the invitation, I specified that everybody should come on with their microphones and videos off unless they wanted to interact. But we can modify that as we go. It's entirely up to you. And you guys, you're welcome to turn your
Sounds good.
cameras on and turn your microphones on if you want to interact before we start, but you don't have to. It's entirely up to you. And then we'll ask.
You know, if you're on the witness protection program, I'd suggest you
Definitely,
keep
and
your video
probably
off.
use a different name. All right. What's the weather like in your neck of the woods? Is it hot up there? Yeah.
Mine, yeah, it's warm, but had a rain shower finally. Made the
Yeah,
grass happy.
I understand.
What concentration of D90 have you been using on the eyes, Alan? 10%?
5% on the decon. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
5%. I just That's a 10-minute warning. I just find that that's plenty for every. If I'm going to soak anything for more than a few moments, then definitely 5%. I haven't used a lot of 10%, but remember, I do a lot of really small bugs, and
Oh, that's true.
there's a very low pH in that stuff, and it will dissolve little things.
Well, I took
So I
that
tend to,
blue mud dauber.
huh?
I took that blue mud dauber that you'll see during the show here, and I stuck his eyes in D90 50/50 for 30 minutes, and they were beautiful.
Yeah, I would think it was a decent sized wasp.
Yeah, it's probably a centimeter and a half. centimeter.
The Hymenoptera eyes are so resilient, especially wasp eyes. They last forever. So I'm not surprised that was
Mhm.
that worked, but I'm
Normally
not sure
it
if.
does.
Excuse me for a sec.
Welcome, Nick, George, and Michael.
Afternoon, Bert.
How are you, sir?
I am good, thank you. And thanks for passing my message on the other evening, day, afternoon.
Morning, Nick.
Just going to watch some lettuce.
Well, hopefully it'll be entertaining. We'll see.
I'll be moving into the front of the computer shortly because I think I was going to have a play at the same time to sort of play along. Yeah.
No, yes, please.
Bud,
Mhm.
I am during the first part of this. I'm
Mhm.
going to have to bow out and leave it with you.
Okay.
I've got a move-related thing I've got to do that I didn't think would happen this quickly. But please, once I make the introductions and everything, I'll turn my camera off and I'll be back very shortly.
No hurry.
Good. Okay, thanks. I knew this was going to be touch and go for a bit under the circumstances. So we have a couple of minutes left to go. I see Mike's just joined us. I can't imagine living in Phoenix right now.
It's a little bit hot.
Understatement of the week.
Yep. But it's a dry heat.
That's the same thing my aunts used to tell me, and I've never heard such a load of codswallop in my life.
Well, compared to where you live, the relative humidity is quite a bit lower. It's down into the 20s, and
Right,
yours.
but your tires still melt in the parking lot. So, there's that.
I was going to ask, so it's stopped raining in Phoenix now, and we're back to what it does, sunshine in excess. Because I was going to ask, isn't Florida worse at the moment?
Florida's always worse than everywhere, I think.
Thank you.
It's so hot down there.
And humid.
And humid. And stormy. It is hot here too, but it's a really heavy summer heat. Not a lot of fun. We've just got a few minutes. This promises to be a very interesting and helpful session for those of you who are into post-production stuff. I think you'll find this very useful. The idea is, good morning, Susan. The idea is that this is going to be interactive in that if you bring us a photograph or two, you'll get to talk to us about it as we go through and ask questions, and that will be up to Bud, really, the flow of the meeting, but we want to make sure that you get an opportunity to ask what you need to know and get the information you need from it. Treat it like a workshop rather than a lecture, and it should be a lot of fun.
And if we can't, we don't know the answer, hopefully we can find it out by the next session.
Yeah, one of the two of us ought to come up with something, but if we can't, we will get our heads together between times. And we recognize that there are folks here who are seasoned experts in these platforms that we're going to be using. And there are people who have barely scratched the surface with them. And we'll try to make the information that we give useful to you, whatever level you're at. So give us feedback. If we're talking too fast or over your head, let us know and we'll slow down. And if we use any terms or talk about tools that you're not familiar with, stop us. Stick your hand up, wave your arms, stop us, and we'll explain what we're talking about. And as time goes by, we'll get a better feel for where you are so that we can structure the material in a way that will be maximally helpful to everybody. And
Alan,
yes, yes,
I
Nick.
know we don't want to get into the stacking, but I just had something on file sizes because I think it's something I hadn't thought about before, just having started with stacking. But I know if I create my TIFFs uncompressed, you're obviously playing with a much bigger file, each individual one, and it seems to be the stacking. But when you then create your DMAP or PMAP, you seem to end up with something that is then the same size as the multiple files you get, sort of, it doesn't add them all together, but you end up with a file the same size as just one of them. Is that what everyone does, or do they compress in Xerine before you get onto that?
I don't. I mean, it depends on the machine you have. You can either do your stacking in JPEG or TIFF. That's the only way to stack. You can't stack raw files.
Yep.
They have to be processed. Now, the files are bigger with TIFFs, obviously, than with JPEGs, but you can't create a TIFF output from a JPEG stack.
No.
So you're going to end up with a single TIFF that's about the same file size as the individual images you put in. Because it's just all it is the in focus parts from all of those individual shots. So what was your question? I'm sorry, I was listening to the background of it and missed the question itself.
It's whether the general rule is everyone, when they do their stack, the TIFF files they create from the raw would be uncompressed, so that you end up, with a whole bucket of large files, and then what you end up with is one TIFF file that is the same size as one of those. Yes.
Yeah, basically that is correct, because there is a conversion that happens on the way from your DNG file into Xerine, converting it to a TIFF. They have to be TIFFs to be stacked, and then the output is just going to be one of those, depending on how many images you save, of course. That's why most of us get rid of those individual inputs afterwards, because it's a lot of data.
Yes.
Okay. We can talk about that later on, Nick, if that's still not clear. But we're at the top of the hour, and I want to welcome everybody to the first After Stack, which is a new concept that truly was the brainchild of Bud Perrott. All of you know. Bud is a master post-processor who has been working with the Adobe products for years. Not officially with them, I don't think, but has been teaching this stuff for a long time. He is my go-to resource when I don't know what I'm doing, which is not infrequent. And we decided that this would be a really good opportunity to offer you a workshop type setting in which we could show you some of the techniques, both beginning and some very advanced stuff, depending on your interest and your needs. And going forward, we want this to be about you and your pictures. So that's going to be an important part of this, is that we're going to solicit images from you in the week before this session. and then we'll select images to use, and we may use one image for just a few moments to look at something, or we may use one for 2 hours to take it apart. That'll be up to Bud and what he thinks will give you the best bang for your buck. If you have questions during the session, just sing out. I mean, we're going to record this. It's going to be available to YouTube viewers so that they can learn from it too. So if you don't want to be recorded, if you don't want to be in the video, please don't turn your camera on, and we can remove your names. Bud, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir, and we're going to begin the first after stack with a whole bunch of stuff that you've got together for us. So take it away, Bud.
Well, thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'm not much of an educator, so bear with me. The whole concept that we talked about, Allan and I, was sort of a round table so that we could learn from each other and help each other get better. And so if you have pictures you're having a problem with, we'll use a Dropbox or whatever Allan designates. You can put them there. We'll take a look at them before another session, see if we can help or not. For instance, Jillian sent me a picture a couple of weeks ago, and she had already done a great mask, and one of her pictures was supposed to be, on a white background, but the hairs on her image were white, which leads us into, what can you change a background on? And you have to have contrast. It either has to be brightness contrast or luminance, or it has to be a color contrast. If they're the same color or the same brightness, you're out of luck. You're just going to have to paint by hand and hope for the best. But the algorithms in Photoshop and Lightroom depend on that contrast in order to change a background, which we all tend to want to do. Now, I wanted to show you initially one of the images that Allan sent that was showing how to do a background previously. I think Mike can show you a quicker way. But first off, I'm going to be talking about something Allan asked me to talk about, which is linear profile. Now, profiles are what are attached to raw images. So as you bring things into Lightroom and you open up something in the develop module, in the basic panel, you'll see Adobe Color is the default module. I'm going to, at this point, try to share a screen here and see if I can show you what I'm talking about. Hang with me. Let's see. I'm going to get back to this one in just a minute. Let's see if my screen, if I'm covering up stuff. Let's see if I can move this thing at the top. That's right.
But while you're doing that, let me just mention one other thing I forgot
Sure.
to say at the beginning. I will monitor the chat, so that would be a great place to let us know if you want to jump in. If there's anything else you want to say or comment on as we go, use the chat in Zoom, and we'll keep a transcript of that, so it'll be a useful reference.
Let's see here. This is what I wanted you to see. So this is a place, Tony Kuiper's photo. I'm not affiliated with Tony in any way. I think he has fantastic products and I use them all the time for post-processing. I recommend you go to the site and see what's going on right now. He's got a 25% off on everything. But look at all the free stuff he gives you. Here's a luminosity mask from an older version, free. All of these things are showing you how do you get started using this stuff, and they cost you nothing. Actions for Photoshop Elements for those that use Elements. Here's the linear profiles that we're going to talk about. The plugin costs $33. That's the cheapest thing you can buy in photography with the most power. There's a guy named Sean Bagshaw who does videos. His are also quite cheap. I think you get 47 videos for $33 showing you button by button what all of this means. These are actions. They don't do anything that Photoshop can't do. It just keeps you from doing 7 button pushes, and he puts it as to 1. It's an action. These are all little programs. So I just wanted to put a plug in for that, but I wanted to show you where the linear profiles can be obtained. They're right here. So if you click on that, you can find your camera all down below, linear profiles for just about any camera you can imagine. They're free. All you have to do is give him your email so he can send it to you. So what is a linear profile? Well, a linear profile basically is a straight line. Adobe Color Profile, which is the default, is this curved line. And the reason Adobe did that is it makes the midtones brighter and it makes it look prettier, but it has a downside. And the downside is, can you see my little green circle?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, cool. Let me see, will it magnify?
Yep. It does indeed.
All right, so up here at the end, if you'll notice what a flat curve looks like, is anybody that doesn't know about curves at all? Good. So you know a flat curve is almost no contrast. So right up here at the very top where your whites are, look how much your whites have been pushed up toward white. So all of your lights are blocking up because of the way this curve is arranged.
Hmm.
Down in the shadows, we've got a very steep curve, which is contrasting. So in that first zone, look how all of your contrast has been put almost in a vertical line. So you've lost shadow detail. So when you look at this curve, you've lost shadow detail and you've blocked up highlights. So Adobe, in trying to make it look pretty, just like they used to boost the ISO of films back in the day, you know, it's all about advertising and making it look good. A linear profile gives you what the camera sees in a linear fashion. So when you look at this area of the curve, it's just straight lines. So if you've got a tone here, it stays here. It doesn't get pushed way up toward white. If you have a tone down here, you know, it stays down here. So you can separate tones rather than having them all stack up in a very contrasty environment in a dark area, which you can't see, your eyes have trouble with anyway. So with a linear curve like this, you're starting out ahead of the game, and I'm going to show you some pictures in a moment. But my advice is to try it. It's not going to work for every image you use. I use it for landscapes. I use it for insects, of course. This will help me keep those hot reflections out of the eyes, the blowouts out of the yellows. It does all of that, and it does it very well. The profile you download once he sends it to you, and you install it into Lightroom and Camera Raw. Now, we're going to mostly in this session be talking post-processing, and I'm wondering if anybody knows what post-processing really is. What's processing versus post-processing? Well, you have to have a raw editor like Lightroom or Camera Raw or some other raw processor, because the raw image is just numbers, it's math. And so Lightroom is a processor. It is not a post processor. Post processing is Photoshop and some of the other items. Okay. So when we're talking about Lightroom, we're dealing with the raw image and we're making a picture that now you can transfer to another program and post process. Okay. So what we're doing with the linear profile is giving Lightroom or Camera Raw or other raw processor the opportunity to give you all the information your camera recorded. Okay. The image will always look darker and flatter at the beginning. Even Tony says to use the auto button, which I will demonstrate for you. And I mentioned to Allan just this morning. You can do it fully manual as I have in the past, but I tell you, auto does a really good job. You can also change auto because you can move the sliders. Okay. The advantages, as he said, more flexibility in Lightroom, additional room for adjustments. the sliders have more impact because they haven't been squashed by the Adobe Color Curve. So they're more predictable. Better shadow and highlight recovery, richer but not oversaturated colors, luminance adjustments, hue saturation all work better, more pleasing raw. And for those that like to expose to the right, it has much greater potential because you're not blowing out your highlights. So enough said about this. You will see after I mess with Allan's fungus picture how this comes into being, but I would recommend you at least write down Tony Kuiper's name and check out this site. I think it's called goodlight.us or something. Yeah, goodlight.us. I think I can make it bigger. Let's see. You see that?
Yep, got it.
Okay, cool.
I'll put it in the chat.
All right. So anyway, that's where all of this started. So I've been using Tony's stuff for probably 10 years. It's that good. And at any rate, let's move on. This is an image that Allan brought, and he wanted to change the background to some blue color. And there are lots of ways to do it, but I wanted to address an older, see, I'm gonna have to close this up so I can see. So I won't be able to see your faces for the moment because I need to be able to see the panels here. All of this stuff on this side, that's all Tony Kuiper stuff. Okay, so just forget about this because we're not gonna be using it, but it's here. For instance, if I want a black or a hide all mask, I click this button, it does it all for me. So let's go and see what we can do. I want to show you something called the background erasers. Anybody ever heard of that? Anybody use it? You're welcome to speak up. Okay. There are three things up here at the top. 1, 2, 3. These little eyedropper things, this is continuously sampling the color below it. So if it goes from black over orange, it changes from black to orange. It's not useful. This one in the middle is the one I use. When you click, it chooses the color below the little X in the middle of your circle, and it keeps only that color. It doesn't change as you pass over things.
So what it's doing is erasing the background from the active layer and exposing whatever you've put underneath that layer.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Okay. So this one will choose one color. This one keeps changing colors. And this one, if you have a color that you want to pick, like this black background, and I could pick black and it's only going to subtract black. Okay.
Okay.
You can also protect the foreground color. So you can go and pick the orange and say protect the orange. I'll turn it off for the time being. And then tolerance, think of tolerance as a window. You've got 256 shades of gray. And this is a window that lets you choose how wide your window is. So if it's very narrow, it's going to pick a very narrow range to erase. The broader you get with a higher percentage, the more it erases. Okay. So let's go to the single color. I'm going to make this just a bit bigger. And I'm going to start off down in the 20s somewhere. I'm going to make my, I think it's these two. Yeah. I'm going to make my brush a bit bigger. I'm going to click and sample, and I'm holding down the mouse. You see the blue.
Is that the fourth layer that you're using?
I'm using the second layer, the one next to the background.
Oh, the second layer up, right. Okay, all right.
This one?
Yeah, how did the mask get added? When you click on the tool, does that add the mask?
It's not a mask, it's subtracting pixels.
Okay, so the thing that looks like a mask in the layer panel is
up here?
Yeah, well, down at the bottom, the second layer.
This one.
That's your background color that you added.
Yes.
And to the right of
it with it
is a mask, and that comes with it when you click on the tool and pick a color?
Right. If you go to the bottom, do you see this little thing down here that looks like a half white? If you
Right.
click on that and you come up to the top is solid color.
Uh-huh.
So you click solid color and it gives you this. If you want a
Right.
different color, you click on it. I'm
Sure.
sorry, cancel.
Takes you to your
You
picker.
just click on it
Pick
and
a
choose a
color.
different color.
Right. And the mask just comes with it whenever you put a solid
Right.
layer on. Okay. And then you select the tool to
It
erase the
does.
current background.
Exactly.
Which layer is
The white
active
mask
when
is,
you're doing, which layer is active when you're using the remove background tool?
I'm using a pixel layer.
So
If
a copy
I,
of the background.
yes, it's a copy of the background. I'm sorry, I should have gone through all of this. I was trying to just
No,
show.
that's okay. I just want to make sure that I'm completely understanding the workflow here.
Okay, workflow starts off with the background. You
Uh-huh.
duplicate the background. I've moved it up in the stack.
Okay.
The second thing you do is you create a solid color and you move it below the one you duplicated.
Right.
These others are additives. I can throw them away. It makes no difference. I had these in here so I wouldn't forget to do them.
Okay. All right. So there's three active layers right now. The
Only the
background
eyeballs are
copy and
active.
the,
Right.
okay.
Only the
Got it.
eyeballs are active. Ignore the other stuff. So basically, I've got this blue layer
Yep.
sandwiched between the background layer and the copy of the background.
Got
And
it.
I'm
Okay.
working
So
on the
that's
copy.
typically what you'd be doing if you were using my old technique.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Sorry to
So
interrupt.
no, that's please anybody
Your
that I'm not making sense to. Like I say,
your
this
your
is a first
brush
time rough draft.
your brush has a hard edge. Is that obviously that's on purpose?
You can do it any which way you want.
Okay.
If we want to go over here and make a soft edge brush, I was using the hardness on something else, but hardness is 0. You can
Oh,
see it.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. I was just wondering if that was a thing that
As,
was necessary.
is everybody aware of how a brush works? What you see is the white edge is not the edge of what you're doing. If I click and hold, you can see it goes out twice as far as that white edge. Everybody good with that?
Yep.
Okay. So in this scenario, we're going to start erasing some of this background here and watch what happens when I go over the orange. Remember, I'm holding it down, but it goes all in between the orange. And why is it doing that? Because of this thing right up here, discontinuous, contiguous, I'm sorry. So basically your choices are contiguous, find edges, or discontiguous. Contiguous means that if something breaks it, it can't get out. I'll show you what I mean. If I'm in here, I can't get outside of here.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be contiguous to where I clicked. If it's discontiguous, then I can click in here and keep moving.
And what are you saying you should use?
Discontiguous because you've got all of these holes that you're trying to get into.
Right.
It's like trying to get into a tree between the limbs. Okay.
Okay. Now it's leaving a border.
It is. And
Okay.
why is it doing that is because we have our tolerance too low. If
Right.
you go back and look at tolerance, I've got it at 21%.
Do you
By
normally
experimentation, go ahead.
do you normally start with a low tolerance and then edge it up as you
It
see
doesn't
what
matter
the
where you
reaction
start.
is going to be?
You just take one stroke, and if it's not what you want, you just change it.
Okay.
There's nothing magic.
Is it possible you can where you have areas of haze closer into the mass, where the color of orange, the tolerance is going to change? Is there a way to apply the tolerance more heavily in those areas, or to create different areas of tolerance within the
Yes.
picture?
What I wanted to show you first, and I will go there,
Okay.
is
All
that
right.
if you come and you click again, then all of this stuff, you see you've
Oh.
chosen a different color, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, let's undo that, and let's go and do it the way we're going to 40 something percent here. Let's go to 45%. So now I'm going to come out here to the black, clicking on it, and you can see that I can erase because my tolerance is closer. So I can do it both ways. Right?
Right. And it's going to remove any background that's not blue. So if you had a background that was not pure black but had other shades, so long as they didn't get within the tolerance of the orange,
Right.
remove it.
Right.
Okay.
You know, with a gradient, if you start off and you have a gradient, then you're going to have to click multiple times and do where the gradient is and, you know, play with the tolerances. It makes it a little more cumbersome. So what I have chosen to do is use black or white, and I can always, because it's so easy to change the background because you have so much contrast, you know, it just makes my life easier rather than trying to do the blue or the purple to start with, being unhappy with it and now having to modify it.
Okay.
But you can see if I magnify this up a bit, the little haze is still around there. Let's see if we can grab it.
Yeah.
That's too much. You see how it's the blues between?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll undo that. We'll go back and reduce our percentage here to maybe somewhere in the 25-ish range, 27 range. Let's see if that's better. See how
Wow.
nice it is?
Yeah.
So you just have to, you can click and you don't have to drag.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. And that is sampling at the very dead center, the black, and is it targeting that shade of background?
It
Or
is. So when you go to the eyedropper tool, which is where you sort of set things. Let's see, here's the eyedropper tool. You see at the top, well, if I could handle my mouse, you see how it says 5x5 average?
Yeah,
You never want to have it on point sample because you might get, you know, a piece of
sure.
noise.
Right.
And 3x5, I keep mine on 5x5. It means it's 5x5 pixels is where how it's sampling the color.
Okay.
Okay. So when we go back again to the background eraser tool, so we're erasing pixels. And you can see over here, if I hold down the option key, you can see the
Yep.
pixels. Okay. Yep.
Pretty
So that's what
slick.
we're doing. So the eraser tool, even though it's an old tool, is pretty cool. But you know, you're not making a mask. So if you use the eraser tool, you can ultimately make a mask. Okay. So let's see if we can make a mask here. So if I wanted this to be masked, remember, I'm not doing the rest of it. I'm just showing you
Right.
an example, right? If you command this
Command click will
image,
show the
it's going to
selection,
make a selection.
right? Would you
Look at
use
that.
a color selection?
No, I just click on the thumbnail.
Oh, okay. Got it. Oh, because it's already remembered what it's,
If you
yeah.
command or
Okay.
control click on any thumbnail, it will make a selection, whether
Right.
it be a channel, a mask, or pixel layer.
Got it.
Okay. So if
Okay.
we get this down where we want it, we can make a mask and use it for something else, right?
Right, right, right. So you could change the background over and over again once you
Yes.
had the mask there.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just a technique because this is an old tool, but it's still very good.
I like it.
If I wanted to protect the orange, you see the foreground color over here? If you want the foreground color to change, the easiest way to do that is to choose the paintbrush, hold down the option or the alt key, and it turns it into an eyedropper.
Yep.
And then you take it and
Pick
say,
the
I
color
want
you
this
want.
color to be protected because it's going to be my foreground color. You can see over here that that is indeed the case. And now that color is protected. I can't erase that color.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Got it.
So if I go back to my background eraser, I'm going to take that off because I'm going to show you we can come in between here.
Oh, wow.
You see, just click on stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
you know, whether it's real or not, it's up to you to decide. You see there, I got too much. I got a piece of orange. So you have to, you know, sort of figure out how to
What
work it.
happens in those areas where there is some orange bleeding over from the haze? How do you deal
I
with
mean, like
that?
this.
Well, below that, the where it's a bit more striking in the left quadrant, mid quad, yeah, but up, yeah, somewhere in there, where there's a mixture of black and orange. What's it going to do there?
Well, I'm assuming that it's probably shadow because the thing has some density to it.
Uh-huh.
So could I cut a hole in it? Sure.
I see. So yeah, right. It's artificially shallowing the,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
So anyway, that is just another way of doing something that Alan was showing you his way of doing it. It's just this one is, you know, you just
This is my way of doing it, only you've automated the last part, which is refining the mask. You're refining the mask using an automatic color selection tool that I'd have to do manually.
yes.
But I use blend modes to protect my colors, and you're using this automatic feature. This is
Well,
quicker.
well, blend modes will work. That's further on in the discussion, but right now, what I wanted you to see was how this older tool, if you
Yeah,
know what you're doing up here, can work.
that's
Now,
pretty impressive.
yeah, if you want contiguous, if I go to contiguous now and I click here, I can't go inside, but I can stay along the outside just fine. And there might be something like a bug where this might be useful.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like that. Is anybody else using this tool regularly like this? It's pretty impressive. It's one of those tools that sits there in the toolbar. I know it's there. I know what it does, but I don't pick it up and use it. But this is convincing me that it's going to be worth a try.
Well, it's because most people don't change these little things at the top, and that's what's really important. Understanding that this is a single sample, and as long as you hold the mouse down, you can take and eradicate that color, tonal range, you know, whatever. This one is continuous. So if I chose continuous and I did blue, and then I went over the orange, it's going to erase the orange. You see, it
Hmm.
keeps picking up different colors. So it's not
Yeah, I
very
don't
useful.
like the idea of that.
No,
When would you use that?
I've never used it. The only time I might use something like that is if I'm cleaning up a background and I'm not near the subject, where you've got variations in the density. Let's say you got some grays and stuff in your background,
Hmm.
it will erase whatever it goes over. So you just keep going over stuff and it makes it one, or you can, I just choose to paint it black. So
Yeah.
to me, this is,
Yeah,
I mean,
I seldom place a mask or remove anything from a picture unless I have a layer underneath it that I'm exposing.
mhm.
So
let's just, for instance, make a mask. So I'll go down here and I'm gonna
on click.
I'm gonna command click. I get my selection. And let's just add it to something for kicks. Let's add it to a curve. Let's, whoops. Looks like I added it to select color. Let me just throw that away because I didn't mean to click on it. So we'll command click it again. I'll have the selection.
Create
So
mask or copy it.
what I'm going to do is if I open any layer, it's going to put that mask with it. So if I choose like a curve or levels, let's
Hmm.
just choose a curve. I'm not going to bend the curve, but you can see that it'll make the mask with it. See the mask?
Hmm.
Okay. Now, if I wanted to clean up this mask, I use a paintbrush, but the paintbrush has to have a blend mode, which is what Alan was talking about. And the best blend mode I have found, most people use overlay. Let me show you
Hmm.
how
Or
overlay would
screen.
work. So you come way over here and you choose, and I'll show you what blend modes are in a moment, but just go with me for a second. Here's overlay. So now I have a brush that's not painting normal, it's painting overlay. and you see it takes care of the crap, but it leaves the white alone.
What is the mathematics of overlay?
It's a contrast enhancing, it's stronger than soft light, but basically it's at neutral gray, it's clear. You can't see any change whatsoever. As you go toward the darker side, it makes the darks darker. As you go toward the whiter side, it makes the whites
So
darker.
it's like an inverted multiply.
Not exactly.
Okay.
But let me show you. Let's see.
I just confuse screen and overlay because they're sometimes interchangeable, sometimes not, depending on my background.
All right, well, hang on. Let me do something here.
I think it's probably the number one source of confusion in using Photoshop is the incredible power and the versatility of different blend modes once you figure them out. But figuring them out is a problem for a lot of folks. It's not intuitive.
All right, so I have a stack on the left, but what I'm going to show you is blend modes. This is just a way of showing you. So I have, in order to blend something, you need two things. You can't blend one thing. So you either have to have two layers, or you have to have some sort of contrast enhancing, or you have to blend two things to get something. So at normal, you see no difference between the left and the right. If I choose multiply, let's see, I have to do it over here. I'm sorry. Let me take this back to normal. I thought I was still in the eraser. Okay, so over here, we're going to change this, and you can see how things all change depending on which one you choose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's take a look at multiply. Leaves white alone and takes everything else darker up to about, say, zone 7 or 8. Okay, so up into here, multiply makes things darker. If we go to linear burn, it's even more dramatic. Okay, if we go to screen leaves black alone, but makes everything lighter.
So
Screen and
screen is
multiply.
the inverted multiply.
Yeah. So if you look at the black down here, and then you look at the white up here, that's what Allan's talking about. They're almost a mirror image of each other. So screen is here. It'll take your grayscale and compress it like so.
So it's part of the lightning panel.
Screen,
Both the screen is one of the lightning panel
yes.
options, whereas overlay is one of the special options, right?
Overlay is contrast.
Contrast.
So if you look at these boxes at the top where normal, you see there's a line across it here. Let's see if I can show you that.
Mm-hmm.
See the line?
Yep.
Okay, so that's normal. This is all the darken, this is all the lighten, and then this is all contrast. And this is weird stuff.
Yeah, very weird stuff.
Well, difference is useful. Does anybody use difference?
Never.
If you want to, but it's beautiful. You want to superimpose two layers. This is the way you do it. So let's say you have two pictures, two mountains, and you've changed one and you want to superimpose them exactly on the other. You put blend mode difference on the top and the normal on the bottom. You reduce the opacity to 50%, and then you move it around with the arrows until they perfectly line up and turn black.
Okay. I would do it a different way, but
It's quick.
yeah, it's quicker. Yeah, I get that.
So anyway,
sorry, I pulled you off course there. What is the reason you were choosing in the example you were making? Why did you choose overlay instead of, say, screen or a lighten mode?
well, overlay increases the contrast. So if you're painting with black, it leaves the white alone. You can see. So
Got it.
basically, this is the area that's being involved.
Okay.
Okay. So you're darkening the blacks around it and you're darkening the lighter stuff, but the whites, like hairs on a bug, you are basically leaving alone. But watch what hard light will do. Hard mix, rather.
Mm.
Okay. I use hard mix at like 2%. And that's what I like to do because we're using the X. Hard light works on whatever the foreground color is. If the foreground color is white, it looks to paint white.
Mm-hmm.
If the foreground color is black, it looks to paint black. So by changing the foreground color, you can alter the way hard mix works.
Got it.
Okay. So if I go back to Photoshop just to show you how this might work. I guess I can get back to Photoshop. Let's see, blend modes. Where was Allan's? Here it is. I was already there. Okay. So if we're looking at this mask that we made.
Okay.
This one. You see how there's all these little colors and stuff in there that not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want the black, I'll put a black foreground. I'm going to get a paintbrush, and up here, not over here. This is not what you're doing. You're actually physically telling this paintbrush that you want it to be on hard mix. And then up here, I have opacity of 100. And I have a flow of 100, but I'm going to take the flow and reduce it down to a low percentage. Let's say somewhere in the 5% range, 3% range. And now as I paint over it, I can probably go a little bit steeper. As I paint over it, I'm leaving the white alone, but I'm getting rid of the stuff that's gray.
Got it.
Okay. So in a different environment, this is more effective.
Okay.
If I choose overlay, it will do the same sort of thing, but it tends to get some of the grays out of there.
It's a little less specific.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to step out for just a second. I have
Not a problem. Yeah.
I'll leave it with you.
I'll tell them all kinds of weirdness.
I would.
All right. Does anybody can speak up, please?
Yeah, Bud, one of the techniques I learned for cleaning up masks was to use the dodge and burn tool. So using the dodge tool, it kind of enhances the whites, and the burn to kind of enhance the darks to get the better edge against like the gray tones around a mask edge. Is this better, similar, or?
I haven't tried the thing, so
I learned in my astro class when cleaning up a edge between the sky and horizon.
Right.
Yeah, so
I think most people that are doing masking are using the overlay technique.
okay.
I haven't really found anything on YouTube that addressed it.
This is just something I found in my astro
Mhm.
workshops. Was the dodge and burn to clean up like a horizon line where there's trees and sky to get a good.
I can see how that would work fine, yeah. But I think you'll find overlay with a lower flow rate would be even better.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying now, and it's similar, and it seems it seems like it doesn't. The dodge and burn could be a little bit less forgiving. It seems because
This way, if you have a white tree or something, or a white light or a star, it's going to leave the star alone and make around it darker because that's the nature of the blend mode overlay.
Yeah. I can see how this is going to be better on some things, but the dodge and burn for some things would be better. But this, like, I'm just have a smoke plume here, so it's got a lot of variations in intensity. It's not such a clean cut, horizon sky.
Right.
So,
Any other questions? Comments?
No, looks good.
All right. Anybody use this tool, the background eraser tool?
Not
It's
background, no.
yeah. I mean, you can make masks lots of different ways, but I found that I watched Allan painlessly go in between here, and the background tool painfully go in between here, and the
Yeah.
background tool just does it quicker.
Mhm.
Okay.
But
Yes.
hi to all of you. I'm not sure whether you guys talked about it or not. And I recently found out that when I have created the mask, especially with those, if you have structures like this, if I then go to the mask and actually I have to look it up because I don't know how to, I have my interface in German. So if I go to the mask settings, it's the second point which says soft edge. So what I would do is to bring that up. It sounds actually a bit weird, but I bring it up quite a bit, and after that I increase the contrast of the mask.
This is on the refined mask.
Yes. So the second level thing I bring up quite a bit, which sounds wrong because you want sharp edges. But if I then bring the contrast of the mask up, it actually makes it quite a sharp edge again.
Yes.
And that works in a lot of cases, and I use it for contrast things, for horizon lines as well. When Julie was just talking about the horizon separation from Astro, so that's what I do first, and then I try all the other things which didn't work, but that works for me quite well now. So
let me see if I can get there. So if you choose any of the selection tools, select and mask pops up. If I haven't hit.
What I actually do is just double click the mask itself. It's not really a refining method. It's the first thing I do. I use like for example, I would take a color mask, or I would create a luminosity mask.
Yes.
So one of the first things I do now normally is experiment whether this helps me already. I double click the mask. I go to the soft edge slider, bring it up, and then I go to the contrast slider and bring it up and see what happens.
Is this the panel that you get?
Wait for a second. Yes, and it would be feather. Feather would be what I bring up.
Feather.
Okay. As I said, which sounds a bit weird, quite a bit. And then I would increase contrast of that mask.
Okay.
And sometimes it does a really good job. When you start feathering it, of course, it looks fuzzy again. But if you bring up the contrast of the mask.
Do you have a picture, Patrick, that you could do that? I could let you share screen and show us.
I will look up whether I find one, but it can take a while because I'm not on my normal computer. But I check whether I have something.
Okay.
But as I said, don't wait for it. I may get back to you if I found something here.
Okay. Well, I mentioned to you about the linear profile. I'd like to show you a little bit about how that works. I did a wasp, a blue mud dauber, and I ran it through 5 different sequences to see which one would give me the best product out of Zareen Stacker, or out of Lightroom prior to Zareen Stacker. And so here's the Adobe color. This is the default. I have this blown up quite a bit. I'll show you. There's the wasp, and here's the blow up. So there's the wasp, blow up, and here's the eyeball. But if you look at the hairs and the noise, this is go through Zareen, just with the default. If you use a linear profile, and go through Zareen. Look at the difference in the hair quality. Can everybody appreciate that? Let's see if I can show you. You can see there's still noise in there, but look how defined each of the hairs is compared to what we have over here, and the noise is reduced. Now, if we go to the, I'm going to highlight this one and replace it. And so if I bring this one up, you can see at the top, this was done with the linear profile, but this one was enhanced. Let's see, give it a second to look at the difference here.
Mm.
So this is linear profile by itself. This is linear profile, and then using the denoise AI enhanced, which takes around 2 hours to run, but look at the difference in quality. First off, there's no noise. You've got really finely displayed hairs. The eyeballs quite a bit smoother. You've got good little lenses, whereas this one, the noise is destroying them. The shadow detail is still good because of the linear profile. If you compare this one, I'm going to go back to the Adobe one so you can see what happened with Adobe. Here we go. So over here is the Adobe one. I swear. Happy fingers, what can I say? Look at the detail difference. So if you're trying to squeeze out some detail, the Adobe, the default versus the linear enhanced is quite a bit different, especially in the hairs. Okay. And then I have another product, DxO Pure Raw, which is a different third-party raw processor. It gives something that looks like this one. Which I think is even better than the linear enhanced. Okay. It gives nice detail, almost three-dimensional look at some of this stuff. The eyes have a little more contrast, a little more dynamics. But I have one last one to show you. So this is the linear enhanced. This is the, I'm sorry, this is the DxO. This is not the DxO. This was the DxO. My bad. This is the DxO, and this is the linear enhanced. You have to get the right white one to. Okay. I want the linear enhanced. There we go. All right. So linear enhanced on the left, DxO on the right. And what I don't like about DxO, look at this big muddy area here.
Wow. Yeah.
And the hairs, I can pull them out, but they got much darker. And I'm starting to lose detail in my shadows. So right now, I had been using DxO, but after doing this study, I'm a little disappointed. But I want to show you what.
Perrott, Patrick Stahl, Juli Bots.
Sorry.
It's okay. So this is linear and enhanced, but I'm going to show you what happens if you hit the auto button. So you hit the linear, as I'll show you in a minute. You've changed the profile to linear. Now you hit the auto button in the basic panel, and it gives you this. Look at the detail there versus the DxO versus the non-auto. So auto on the right. So both of them are linear enhanced. The only difference is the auto button. Look at the color contrast. Eyeballs good. Shadows are good. Color's good. So I thought, all in all, that's the difference between hitting the auto button or not hitting the auto button. Both of them take the 2-hour enhance to get the hair detail like you saw.
Wow.
And once you get that, you put it through Zareen and it stacks it to give you this product.
Okay, so Bud, you're saying first you run the linear profile, then you run it through the Adobe denoise to
Linear profile and then hit auto.
then hit auto. Okay, but are you running the Adobe denoise protocol?
I
at
am
linear?
inside of Lightroom.
Okay, so it'd be the linear profile, then the Adobe denoise, and then auto then denoise.
I use auto before denoise.
Okay, it's all right.
And then you have to, synchronize everything so that
Yeah,
that's on all of your 400 images.
yeah, I'm very familiar. Having the
Yeah.
Mac 2 it does cut it down about a third, but it still takes forever.
Yeah. And you can go have lunch or something. I might back off on some of the blues that are a little rich, but that's the way it came out.
Mhm.
So when you go to synchronize, I hit check all,
Yeah.
because if you start looking through all the panels, auto has changed something in nearly every panel.
Yeah, one of the things I do look at though is if I have an area where it like has a little bit more of a blowout, I might go into that one frame and use range mask to just kind of tone down
Yes.
the blowout on those frames that got a little too bright.
Have you used the linear profile?
Yeah, I have it I have it set up to do the linear profile and color adjust for flash, and it does that to my whole stack at once when it comes in.
Okay, so you do it on the development side as it's coming in.
Yeah,
I haven't tried that. Does it work good?
yeah. But I have a Mac M2 Studio, so it's very fast. So
Yeah.
because my old computer would take like 2 hours, and now it takes like half an hour.
Yeah. I have the M1, so it still takes me about 2 hours, but mine's a lot faster than some.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the difference. And I think that the detail is, especially in the hair work, is pretty amazing. Anybody have any comments or thoughts or a
You
different
do
way of doing it?
You do auto on each image, not the same adjustment for all images for exposure.
No, you take one image,
Okay. And then you apply it to all of them.
apply to all. Yeah. Synchronize, I think is what it's called, or something like that.
Yeah,
You're in the develop.
yeah. I find if you go like in the middle of the stack, so it's not on the very blurry beginning or the very blurry end, but like in the middle where and use that as your reference, and then apply it to all, and then come back and look at the individual frames. So make my first adjustment on like a middle of the stack frame. So
I usually try to get some of the eye in there so I can see what's happening, because
yeah,
that seems to be what everybody looks at on insects.
yeah. But I don't necessarily use the first frame or the last frame, but somewhere downstream a little bit, and then synchronize everything to that frame.
Yes. I agree with that totally. All right, so what's everybody think? This is pretty interesting, huh?
Mhm.
The one thing I forgot to do is I didn't run just not auto, I'm sorry, the Adobe Color and the enhanced. So that's a gap in my experimentation. So it might be better but the Adobe Color by itself was the worst of the lot. All right.
Which DxO module were you using, Bud, when you did the DxO? Was it Prime or
It was
newer
using
one?
the big one.
Okay.
I have the 4.0.
Yeah. Yeah. So the latest one.
Yeah, I used the latest one and their newest whatever. And it took, I think, 2 hours and 20 minutes for 470 images.
Not bad, actually.
So, all right. Well, did that scare everybody, or are we doing okay?
I'm gonna be rerunning
Okay.
some stacks.
All right, so let's go see what else we got to do here. I wanted to show you a little bit about, I showed you the blend if demo. Would you have any questions or want to see that for any reason? Does everybody know what blend modes are and how to use them?
I would love to learn something about the blend if.
All right, blend if we can do.
That's I struggle the most with.
Same here.
It's supposed to have opened. Let's cancel this. There it is. Okay, so this is just a grayscale. So I made a new thing and I just used a gradient left to right. So this is 256 shades of gray. So what I want to do is to show you how the slider works. I'm going to let's see, FX. All right, so here's our blend if panel. And what I have is a color overlay on top of it. And the blend if, as you can see, I can protect the white, okay? So imagine that I wanted to add red to only the midtones. I could bring the white in on this side, white's protected, clouds won't turn red. I could turn this one, the shadows won't turn red, only the midtones. So consider the only one I ever use is the bottom one. I'm sure they use this for up here, but I found that this is like a range mask if you want to think of it that way. And these little controls, you see how they have a line up the middle of them? If you hold down the option key and click it, it splits. You see how it split? Compare this one to this one. And then you can take this and drag it. It won't let me show you at the same time, I don't think. Yeah, well, see how it feathers? Okay. And if I want to do this one, I'll option click it. It breaks it. And I can feather it. So you can keep going with these feathers until you get exactly what you want. So I can apply this red color to zone 5 and feather it out into zone 6 and to zone 4. If I wanted to, say, use the high parts, let's take the white and pull it back together. I can take the black well up into this area. We're protecting the blacks. We're protecting the midtones. And so the effect is only going to be where the red is. Does that make sense, Patrick?
Yes, it does.
Does that help at all?
It helps a lot. I think it can be quite a powerful tool. Yeah?
So when I'm doing bugs and I paint over hairs with a darkening, let's say I paint over it with paint. Okay, so the hairs have disappeared. Now I go to the blend if and I start protecting those light hairs by pulling back on the right side. So let's imagine that this is basically painting over the hairs, and now I want to protect those hairs. So I use the option key, Alt on the PC, and you split it, and you get it to feather pretty nicely. And you find out right where it's protected. You can bring this one in and tighten it up. You know, so you can make your feather really tight and really protected. So you can imagine this color in here is the haze around a white hair. So I can start eradicating the haze and not do anything to the hairs. Everybody with me, or did I lose you?
No, I'm still here. I'm just thinking of all the possibilities you could. I mean, it's really powerful if in a lot of different ways. Do you use that? You use it on masks or
you can use it on any layer.
On any layer.
Okay. Can it be used on a mask? No, it cannot.
It cannot. Mhm.
but you could create a layer and use it on a layer. So let's say you take the mask and make it into a layer.
Mhm.
So now you have a black and white on a layer. Now you can use it,
Mhm.
right? And then you can command click that after you finish and recreate a mask.
Yes.
So intermediate step sort of a thing. Questions? I'm worried I'm
No, I was playing with the blend if last night and I got it to work, but it was in my mind, it was just a freak accident that I got to do what I wanted. So but this makes a lot more sense. 'Cause
yeah,
I
I think
tried to
it's
scout
just like,
smoke, which has got no edge.
Yeah.
So blend if really worked, but I didn't really sure how I did it, but I got what I wanted.
you can play with the top layer. Sometimes it'll do things you want it to, but I bet 99% I use this as a range mask, just like in Lightroom.
Yeah,
So you're basically protecting. Think of this as protection rather than underlying layer.
yeah. But it,
So
it took me 2 weeks to figure out black reveals, white conceals. I developed a learning disability after a head injury, so some
oh
things
no.
takes a while for me to internalize. So
Yeah, so yeah, anything white, let's whatever you've done show through.
yeah,
So let's see if I can
Yeah.
put something else up. Let's go back to let's see.
if you have your that flower bud, and then the one that you're using for the race, the background,
Yeah,
you know,
this one.
yeah, use that for a blend if you want to put the blue on top of that, and how would you use blend if in this mode instead of the background erase?
Okay. Let me see something. When you're looking at blend if, let me just show you. You'll notice that it's set on gray, but there's a drop-down menu.
Yeah,
And that drop-down menu is red, green, and blue. What does this mean?
yeah, that's
These are channels.
yeah,
You're playing in the channels. So you can pick a red channel, a green channel, or a blue channel. If we were to pick the blue channel, because the background is blue, it would be more effective, possibly, right?
yeah,
See what happens. So as we pull this back, nothing. As we pull this forward, so it's not going to do anything to this background layer because I'm not on that layer. I'm way down here. So if we come down here, reopen it, turn it to blue, let's see what happens.
Mhm.
yeah. I see the
See where it popped through?
yeah,
So
Oh,
it's showing the layer below it. So if I split it with the Option or Alt key, you see I can achieve different effects. It's eradicating the blue because you're playing with the blue channel. But most of the time you're on gray. So if I were going to do something, let's go and pick out, let me go and get that bug from Lightroom. And I think it was this one. Let's see what we get out of that. Edit in Photoshop. We're in Photoshop. We have our bug. I like to make a layer. So I always do Command or Control J. It makes a duplicate. And I just turn this one off. It gives me this image if I need to paint something back in that I made a mess up. It just gives me a backup. So in something like this, if I wanted to add contrast, let's see how we could do it. So if I go down and I pick a curve, and I make this picture bigger. We're looking at layers. You see there's a curve. So I'm going to open the curve and I'm going to increase the contrast. Okay. But I'd like to protect the blacks, and maybe I'd like to protect some of these whites that are getting blown out. Okay. This is the perfect place to use blend if. So I double click in this blank area, you know, back here, blend if opens. So now I can take, and let's start protecting the black side. So I'm going to hold down the Option, Alt key on a PC. I click it, and now I start to slide it. Can you see how it's protecting the blacks? I can bring, let's see, it didn't split, excuse me. Okay, so this is basically where we started. As we move half of this thing up, we can see that the darks are starting to come back. The midtones are still contrasty. Now I'm going to bring the bottom half of this black up. So right in here, I have basically the contrast. So I'm going to, that's where we started. That's after the sliders. Okay. Maybe I need to be a little bit back this way or a little bit darker, maybe. I don't know. Somewhere in there. Here's our preview, before and after. Now let's protect the white side. So we can just grab this, both of them together, and pull down and see about where things start to happen. So they start to happen about right here. I think if I hold this, you can see where this is. And I'm going to Option click that. I think it's Alt on a PC. And then I can start moving the sliders. So let's move this slider back the other way.
Can you tap on the numbers, Bud?
These numbers?
Yeah, to set them.
Let's see. Let's see if I can make this.
I was thinking when you've got it roughly where you want it, you just want to tap, go 2 or 3 either way and see if it makes the odds. And it's just the sliders are always a bit sticky, aren't they?
Let's see if the arrows work at all. They don't seem to be working for me. You can make the numbers move if you know a set. You see how the numbers moving over there? Watch this number right here.
Okay.
You see how it moves? So I guess you'd have to move it to where you wanted to check it out.
Can you use the arrow keys?
I'm trying, but it didn't seem to work. No. Somebody might can do it, but I don't know how to do it. These won't highlight. It'd be nice if they did, if you could type something in, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's an edit. It's a powerful one, isn't it? I mean, we play with the detail later, but it's showing it nicely what it will do.
Yeah. So anyway, I use the blend if. I use it as protection. If I want to make these wings colorful, the red and stuff, I don't want it to affect the rest of this guy. So what would I do? I could go in and let me just accept this. I'm going to throw it away anyway. So what would you do to improve on these colors? What would you use, hue saturation or a different adjustment layer? Any ideas?
Yeah, hue saturation.
Okay. Does anybody ever use select color? No.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
So if you go to select color, which is the very bottom one of the things you can look at is say red. Now, if you look at these, it's cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Okay. So this is basically the same thing as you'd use in a print. So if I pulled cyan to the negative, I get red. If I pull magenta down, I get green. If I pull yellow down, I get blue. So this is the yellow blue, the magenta green, the cyan red axis, and you have black. You also have the option of absolute and relative, and these definitely affect things. But right now, let's pull out of the red. That's probably more of a magenta color, though, wouldn't you say? Let's go to magenta. Still got CMYK. So let's pull the cyan out of magenta and see what happens. Can you see it? Can you see the wings?
Mhm.
So if I want to add green into that magenta, I pull it this way, kills it. If I want to add the magenta, I can increase the tone and the colors. If I want to add yellow, I can make it warmer into the orange color, or I can make it purple with the blue. So these are subtractive colors. If I want it darker, I add black. Okay. So relative is here. I don't see much change in this one. Let's go to red and see if we can find some color. So if we want more red, we subtract cyan. See how the whole thing is getting nice and warmer? Okay. If we want more yellow, we can boost the yellows and the red. We're not boosting the yellows. All we're doing is changing the color of red. So don't be misled. Yellow has its own set. If we want to go to yellow, we're not going to be affecting the reds anymore unless it has some yellow in it. So if we take the yellow and increase the yellow, we can make those wings more colorful without affecting so much the rest of it. Okay. This is why I use this a lot of times rather than hue saturation, because it's more direct color related. If I want to add black or subtract black from the yellow, I can do this. You can see it makes it pale, makes it dark. So I can sort of pick and choose what I want to do with the warm colors. If I want to go into the blue colors, this is going to affect the body of the beast. So let's add some cyan or subtract it. You see how that's adding red to the blue color. This adds cyan to the blue color. If we go to yellow and pull the yellow out of the blue, it makes it even richer blue. Can you appreciate that?
Mhm.
It's too subtle.
Absolutely.
So I use selective color because it's so powerful. And the neutral colors. Here's white, black, neutral. So if I want to take the black and make the black blacker, right? Or I want to make it lighter, I can affect the way black works. Okay. Now remember that this whole thing can still be modified by using blend.
Mhm.
So I don't want the blend diff to, only affect the darkest darks, right? So let's see if we can do that. Let's go to layers. Let's take us a blend diff, double click over here. And let's say we want to protect everything but the blacks. We can start sliding this sucker in. And we can split the white one with the Option or Alt key. And so we can protect everything but the blackest blacks. Can you appreciate that?
Very
I'll turn it
powerful.
on and off so you can see it. See how we've darkened the blacks but protected the midtones? Anybody out there?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty subtle.
Is everybody gone?
No, I'm making notes, but I want to. I need to write things down to remember.
Yeah, I'm taking notes too. So if you were doing this on for real on one of your images, would you use your TK9 to put a mask on that first?
Yes, absolutely. I could. If I wanted to, let's say I'm going to highlight this mask, the TK9, if I wanted it to be a hide all mask, I would just click this. It hides everything. Now we'll take a brush with white paint, foreground paint. And when, let's say I want to go to 100% just for the reason of demonstrations, and I'll make the brush a bit bigger. You know, I can paint black into this area. Oh, I've got overlay still turned on. Sorry about that. We'll go up to normal so you can see it happening. See how it's black?
Bud, sorry to pop back in and ask a question so quickly.
Welcome
but
back.
Thanks. I'm sorry, I have move stuff that's going on continuously today. How would you go about refining the mask around the hairs on the and if you've already discussed this,
I haven't.
ignore it.
No, I haven't.
Black hairs on a black background, how would you manage that?
Okay. If we go to here, what we would like to do is to brighten these hairs up first, so we'd have some more contrast. And I would do that with an empty layer. I'm going to just get a curves layer. I'm not going to bend the curve. I want to use it for a blend mode. And the blend mode I'm going to use is going to be what? Screen. Okay. And now I need this mask to be black. I can do it with fill, but it's so easy by using TK. I black mask and I got a black. So,
or you could hit Command I, right? And
Command I would make it black as well. Yes. And so now I can selectively paint. So let's get a paintbrush. Let's get white paint. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm doing. And you can paint over these hairs. Okay. And I'm making them brighter. And I've got it on 100%. Just for, normally I'm using something around, well, let's just go and show you. I would take flow out. I'm a fan of flow because it's continuous rather than stair-stepped like opacity. I'd have a smaller brush. I'm at 25%, so I can just paint over some of these hairs, make them a little bit brighter. Something like that. And now you want to go between these hairs. So we need to darken, okay? So we can use paint, or we can use the clone stamp. I'm kind of a fan of, because it has this speckly pattern, if you use paint, it's going to be smooth, right? So if, let's say I've got the paintbrush and I hold down the Option or Alt key and I click out here, now I've loaded paint darkened to my thing.
But with the noise in it.
No, I'm showing you the paintbrush first because it's smooth.
Oh, okay, right.
Let me just make it more so you can see it. And
yeah, if you just paint black, that's a digital black that you're adding, right? Not a photographic black.
Yes. Well, the speckle's not working for me like I want it to. Why is it? I think I have to choose down here.
Oh, you're still on white as your brush.
So let's see if I can do it now. Okay. You see how it's smooth? Everybody see the noise disappearing?
Yeah.
Hard to see. Let me see if I can make it bigger. See the speckles there inside my green? You see how it goes smooth up here?
Yep.
No speckles. Okay. So if you go in between the hairs with just the black, I see it as, somewhat problematic. So let's go now and use the stamp tool and do the same thing. So if I do the stamp tool, and click on it. Now when I paint, you know, I get the speckle pattern.
Hmm.
Okay. So if I want to go in between these guys down here, I'm going to make my brush a little bigger. And I'm at 100%, so I'm just going to drop down to 50%. Normally I'd be at a much lower percentage, but I'm doing this so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to paint back and forth over these hairs. And now we go to the blend diff because we want to protect those hairs. Okay, so we'll start sliding this down. I got them together until we find out where something went wrong. What have I got going on?
You might be, you're still on the mask, on the uppermost mask curves
Yeah,
there.
sure it is. Yeah, okay.
When
Thank
you
you.
were painting, you were on layer 1. I think that's what happens.
Yeah, yeah, you painted the hairs over with the black.
Yeah, in the layer panel. That's it.
Yeah,
This one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to paint here, and then we do the blend diff here. Well,
Yeah, you didn't protect the hairs before you painted the black.
should work after the fact just the same. I've got something set wrong somewhere. Sorry, guys. It happens. Let's see. Give me a second to think about it.
Yeah, yeah. The fact that the other adjustment layers are on doesn't matter.
Let's
Yeah,
just,
But you painted black over the hairs directly on the layer, so
Yeah.
I'm going to go and do make a stamp with the merge visible. You know how to do that?
No.
If you hold down the Option or Alt key and keep it down, you see these keystrokes are the same. If you add the Option key to this set of keystrokes, you have 4 keys you have to push. My hand doesn't work well that way. So if you only hold down the Option or Alt key and then click Merge Visible, it makes a stamp at the top for you. Okay. So now let's see. I need to paint on there. So I'm going to make a new layer. I think this is where I went awry. And on this layer is where I want to paint. So I'm going to get my stamp. Got it. I'm going to do the Option. Got it. And I'm going to paint over this area.
So you are putting the noisy background, you're painting that directly over the hairs on a fresh layer.
Yes.
Okay.
And now I'm going to split this. And I'm going to drag this one in. And I'm going to start dragging this one in.
Oh yeah.
Maybe the hairs come back.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
very
so
nice.
So once you get it to where you want it to be, say somewhere in here,
Uh-huh.
I can close this and I can continue to paint.
Mhm.
You see, because I
Oh,
have created a paint brush that that knows what to do.
now that is slick. Walk through those steps again, bud, would you?
I made a stamp.
What is a stamp?
A stamp is basically all of the stuff that you've done below it.
Uh-huh.
It's like you're sending out a finished picture.
Okay, like a flattened picture, but it's
It's on
just a new layer. Okay.
But that means that you can't get to the stuff back behind it because they don't work anymore because you now have a pixel layer blocking it.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
A new background, kind of.
Okay. And then so you make a new layer, just an empty layer above it. It's normal in blend mode. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just take your stamp or your brush and you can use the same one. So let's go to the brush just to show you that it's doable. And I will click out here, and now I have a brush, and I can paint with a brush that's smoother.
That is really slick. Can you then darken the hairs again to where they're more like they were when you started, if you wanted authentic color? Because they
Oh,
were
yeah.
Okay.
What I normally do is get the hairs where I want them to start with. I was just doing this as a demo.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I think I did the hairs down in here somewhere, but let's say that,
You could turn the stamp layer off and access the stuff below, right?
yeah, I just did.
Okay.
So it's actually working. I didn't have to use the stamp layer at all. It's still looking at the entire stack.
Okay.
So if I turn this off, it's going to affect things, see?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I can turn it to there. Let's say that we want it a little bit brighter. I've got this on screen, if I recall. Yep, screen. But I'm going to turn it on. So I've got it on screen, but I can take now this curve. I normally don't bend it, but I can make the hairs darker. I could pull this down, right?
Oh, yeah. That's pretty slick.
And you can bend it a little bit if you want, make it contrastier, but you can make it as dark or as light as you want.
Zoom out a bit, bud, and let's see what that looks like. Just, I wasn't here when you first showed the wasp, but let me tell you, those colors are unbelievable. I have never seen those colors in a wasp before. They're gorgeous.
Yeah. A little bit of Croyle shined up his butt some.
That's good stuff for your butt, definitely.
But, I've got to go in and fix it because you can see my pen.
Sure.
I've got all of the
That's the easy
anatomy
part, though.
fixed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've got to take care of the glue.
Yeah.
Oh.
But the hard part's done when you've got those hairs refined like that. That's where the telltale stuff is.
Right.
That looks like a Christmas ornament, that thing, that bug.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. Of course, I've done some weird stuff just to show it, but the hairs don't have to show up like this. But as Allan knows, I rim light most of the insects because I'm in a vertical arrangement. I have a light and diffusion below my insect as part of my insect stand. And so I can make these hairs. These are black hairs, but look how I've got them illuminated so you can see them.
Yeah, it's a really nice touch, I must say. Well, Bud, we are at the 90-minute mark.
Yeah, you want to call it and do something next time?
I think we probably ought to consider wrapping it up. I think I told everybody it would be an hour and a half.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. What I would
let me ask a couple of questions before we bid farewell. First of all, could I get a show of hands? But if we could go to full screen, if you're through with
I am.
Share. If I could get a show of hands from those of you who thought that the content, the presentation, everything was what you were looking for. If you feel that is not the case, also let me know now so we can get some real-time feedback. Was this helpful?
Very much, yeah.
Very much.
You're right. Yeah, yeah, fantastic. Very good. How frequently would you wish to have access to something like this if the options were maybe once a month or once every other week, alternating with Presume? What would be your choice? Every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Every 2 weeks? Every 2 weeks? That seems to be unanimous as well, or close to it.
You sure you guys don't want a Saturday off?
I don't. I mean, I wouldn't know what to do with it. It sounds to me like this is a popular thing that what was that, Patrick? Was that a
Oh, nothing. I'm just reading my notes.
Oh,
Forget about
I
it.
thought you were holding up a sign
No.
in protest.
He's a prisoner.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned
Okay,
more
well
today
then,
than I had in a while.
let's plan then on reconvening in a couple of weeks. And please, if you have pictures, good pictures, bad pictures, pictures you want to get to the bottom of something tricky that you haven't been able to fix, let one of us see it, and we'll get it on the program for next time. Thank you to
Yeah.
Gillian for giving a photograph, and especially huge thank you to Allan for giving one of his. And yeah. Over to you, Bud, to say goodbye, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Well, thanks for coming and playing. Really like to run this sort of as a round table, so everybody has input and we learn from each other. I mean, there are always holes in our perspective. If there's an easier, faster way to do something that one of you knows, I am not embarrassed. Tell me. We'll do it. If you don't want your name on your picture because you don't like that sort of thing, send it as an anonymous if it's something you need fixing. But if you send a picture, send a little note to tell me what you're having trouble with, so
Good
we
point.
can do a little research and make it work. I'd appreciate it. And if you guys send me pictures, I think we can have a lot of fun.
We're gonna this goes on YouTube, yeah?
Yes.
That is the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Discord, we can use that to link to it, but also keep the chat going on what we've been doing.
What we could do is put a link in the after stack room on Discord. Larry, am I correct in saying that we could actually put the video link there? Yeah.
We could link to it. Yeah, there's a post inside the post processing forum.
Okay.
So, and that's pinned until there's the next one. And I'll post the links that I posted in the chat in that also.
Oh, great. So I will. I'm going to put this up on YouTube pretty much as is, because I think it held together really well and the conversation was good. So I'll leave it as is, and that will be going up for everybody who wants to look at it after the fact. If you miss one of these, it'll be available same day. So I will upload it intact as soon as Zoom sends it to me. The quality won't be great, and if we want to think about maybe doing something a little higher quality, we can. There are other ways of doing it, but this is certainly the easiest way for us. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I really do appreciate it. It was I was looking forward to this, and I think it was a big success. Bud, you did a stellar job as always. One thing we didn't talk about was possibly at some point getting a guest on to visit with us. Maybe Tony would like to drop by sometime.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That would be good. Maybe that's something I can look into. All right, everybody, have a great Saturday and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And next time I talk to you, I will be a Peorian. It's a thing, apparently.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Good day.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you, Bud.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, really appreciate it. I got to do some restacks now.
Same here.
I got to go catch a Christmas tree ornament bug. I don't know where you got that thing from, but got to find it.
Just taking a drink out of the bird bath.
Yeah, the last time he's ever going to do that.
They apparently can sting you pretty bad.
Yeah, they can. Mud daubers.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty wasp. Okay, see you guys.
Thanks guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.